Let's argue time. It's time to argue. Give you my thoughts, my opinions on the hot takes you guys give me over the internet. Whether, they're hot takes or unpopular opinions or tough questions, we respond to those best ones. That's the point of this series, is what we do. Let's do it. 2022 has musically been underwhelming so far. I don't agree fully. I think there's been a lot of interesting releases. There's been some big album highlights. For me, score-wise, there haven't been any 10s or anything like that, but at least a decent handful of 9s. I feel like I have a pretty nice, top 5 going right now as far as albums of the year. Every week I'm hearing at least a few releases that I'm very, excited to sink my teeth into, whether I end up enjoying them or not. So I can say this at the very least, as far as 2022 with music goes, I'm not bored. If a song doesn't have a guitar solo in it, it sucks! Dumb take, dumb thing, you said a dumb, stupid thing. 8 Mile ruined an entire generation of white rappers, in a way, it kind of created an entire generation of white rappers by making them think they had to prove themselves through technical ability rather than doing something artistically interesting. Yeah, by being sort of like their only window to that world, and them thinking that, hip-hop is essentially only just like a competition on a stage, you and another guy, and whoever's spitting the most spherical lyrical miracles. Which, there is validity to that, that is a cool thing. Rap battles are awesome and can be really fantastic and amazing and epic. That sense of competition in hip hop can be great and can be cool. But when everything artistically in your mind boils down to that and only that, that's going to poison your creative process and put you in a lane where you're only going to sound a very particular way, and you're rarely, if ever, going to veer outside of that. And I don't really disagree all that much with what you're saying here. Has a deluxe version of an album ever significantly changed your opinion of that album? I know most deluxe versions are just extras from the cutting room floor, but some deluxes, I don't know, honestly. Song Machine, I wasn't really too crazy about many of the extras from that. There is a deluxe version of The Name of This Band is Talking Heads, that live album that they have, and that's my favorite version of that record. But that was like the first version of it that I heard. The previous version obviously has less tracks, and I'm not so much crazy about that version. I like the version with more on it. You could put almost any song over a video of Michael Jackson dancing and it'll work out. Just this one, for example, that I enjoy. Looking at this video, I don't even really think this works. I don't think this is that tight of a sync, honestly. But hey, let's try Michael Jackson over some field recordings. Just a thought, if a rapper or singer name-dropped you and the score you will give their album, and it also happens to be the same score you are going to give the album, would I be inclined to change the score? That's interesting. That's an interesting thought experiment. Let's say an artist says, my album Fantano is gonna be a light 9, and I listen to it and I genuinely, truly, honestly do feel that way. And let's say for added effect here, that artist says that at the very end of the record. By that point on the album, I've already decided I love everything up until this point. Okay, I give it the score that the artist says in the song. And beyond that, I guess all that would happen is there would be comments that are just you just gave it that score because the artist said it. At that point, it wouldn't matter if I spent a half an hour talking about every single detail on the record and how it blows me away and so on and so forth. Your average person or average angry, dumb commenter would just... And generally, I think those people who act like that in the comments are dumb and are not really worth worrying about. So... I don't know. I kind of feel like at that point it would have to just be a wash. If I genuinely did feel that way about the album, I would have to say it regardless of whatever few dumb comments there would be. And I would just have to be it a good score or a bad score, I'd have to admit in that moment that artist got me. It certainly would be something for an artist to come out with a record and at the very end of it have me in mind in such a way where they're able to with 100% accuracy guess exactly how I would feel about it and say that on their record in almost a ballsy way where they're kind of making a bet. I'd have to applaud them for sort of knowing what they wanted to do, have their own vision and complete it and execute it, hopefully, to the best of their abilities in exactly the way that they wanted to. But then simultaneously, know me and my taste so well that they're able to, in their own mind, like filter it through what would be my taste and my ears and know whether I would enjoy it or not and to what degree. I mean, that's a talent. I would have to, give it up for that. In your opinion, what is the best way to incorporate interludes tastefully into an album? I've seen many albums I thoroughly enjoyed miss out on higher scores almost entirely because of an interlude or two. They might have used Caligula, sometimes I might be Introvert. I mean, those are two very great albums that got very positive scores. With Caligula, I wouldn't say it was as much of a problem. With Introvert, it just kind of felt like aesthetically the interludes were mismatched from much of the other songs on the LP, and that was really kind of the separation for me. Look, when it comes to interludes, I don't think there's any one right or wrong way to do it, frankly. It's just kind of like making an album in general. There's no one way to make a great album, just like there's no one way to incorporate a good interlude onto a record. I would say there are some pretty obvious no-nos in terms of interludes that are way crazier and harsher than anything else on the record, possibly, maybe, or interludes that are too persistent, or like 3 back-to-back, I don't know. Or like an interlude in the midst of a record that is already pretty short or low on energy and it doesn't really need anything in the midst of the track list, kind of throwing off the flow. I mean, I guess those are some examples in ways interludes can go wrong, as it were, but again, I don't think there's any set number of ways that they can be good or not all that great. Larry from the children's show Veggie Tales has produced songs that are better than your favorite song. The Beach Boys' Better Than Beatles take is futile and only exists because of Pet Sounds and the genius of Brian Wilson. The Beatles had better instrumentalists and better songwriters collectively, and their discography was much more consistent and, as we all know, influential. Yeah, to me, honestly, like, the Beatles and the Beach Boys have totally different appeals, like, especially when you start dragging it out of, the Sgt. Pepper's and fucking Pet Sounds eras. Like, as soon as you start rewinding and fast forwarding past those points, there's like really no reason to fucking compare them at all. And yeah, it's just annoying and silly, and it's a conversation in terms of like the classic rock and classic pop circles that I wish would just die. Listening to an album on shuffle can be a great way to deepen appreciation for the project. It lets you appreciate tracks on their own and make connections you may not have otherwise made. Purists who insist on never using shuffle are missing out. Whatever makes you happy, man. When I'm feeling in an appreciate individual tracks mood on an album, I will just look at the track list and I will simply skip to those tracks. I will just skip to those tracks myself. Although I guess like it can be cool if you're driving and you're looking for some variation. You can't be with your face in your phone just like constantly picking out songs. You'll hit somebody or hit a car. But listen to music how you like, however it makes you fucking happy. All right, well, that's going to do it for another episode of Let's Argue. Giving my thoughts and my opinions on your thoughts and your opinions. I love you. You're the best. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up with a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, let's argue forever.